Welcome to Early to Rise Radio. This is Craig Ballantyne. I am here with Galel Fajardo, and he is going to interview me. So we're turning the tables. This is going to be absolutely amazing. He's going to ask me about the next 10 years of my life and what that is going to mean for all of our listeners. All right. So Galel is one of the coaches in our program. Galel, just quick introduction on yourself.
Yep. So I met you, Craig, about 10 plus years ago in person, but Craig had actually been mentoring me before that. I had been recommended by actually my therapist, who I was going through counseling at the time, went through a really rough period in my life and was introduced to earlytorise.com. And because I read the book Ready, Fire, Aim by your mentor, Mark Ford, pen name Michael Masterson, and started following you and reading what you were teaching and all that great stuff, and got me on track to kind of turning my life around. I was previously had owned a mortgage company, and we all know what happened in 2008, 2009, the economic collapse, and that brought all kinds of challenges to me. Started reevaluating everything, kind of reinvented myself by learning digital marketing and really focusing on those high income skills that you talk about so much. Ended up going to grad school, got a degree in performance psychology, and realized I wanted to become a coach. And so that's why I worked on my education, worked on myself, and now I get to work alongside you, which is truly a dream come true.
That's amazing. And we will be interviewing Galel in a follow-up episode of this to dive deeper into those. But I guess you have a few questions for me today.
I do. So Craig, over the last few years, right, we do a quick recap, right? So COVID happens. You leave Canada, right, with all the restrictions and everything going on, and you settle down in Cancun, Mexico.
Yep. After passing through Huntington Beach, which is where we are today.
Yes. Settled down in Cancun. What's the next 10 years going to look like for your family? You guys going to stay in Cancun, or what do you think you're going to do?
Well, I think we're going to leave. We're planning actually on leaving in early 2024.
Okay. And
possibly coming back to Huntington Beach, possibly going back to Vancouver. It'll either be California or Vancouver for most of 2024, depending on how things go. My wife's family is in Vancouver, and we really like it there. And we really like it down here in Huntington Beach. Probably the biggest obstacle to all of this is we have to get our dog back from Mexico. And it was easier to get the dog. It's kind of like, putting a ship in a bottle. It was easy to putting anything in something. It's easy to get it in, hard to get it out. And so it's much more difficult to fly with a dog these days. And so we're trying to figure out how do we get our dog back to North America from Mexico. Well, I guess Mexico is part of North America. And then once we figure that out, we will then decide where we're going to be with the kids. The kids are under 2, so they don't necessarily have to be anywhere at all most of the time. And we're just looking for the right place. The way that I describe it to Michelle is we're going to go where we're going to get treated best. Yeah. So in the long run, that could be anywhere. We're quite open to finding that out. Or we might just spend a little bit of time here and be all over the place for a long time.
So that's your family and living situation. What does your vision look like as far as work goes?
Right now I have a pretty good workload. So I work Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and I work 8 till 4, and that includes the time that I spend going to the gym is in that 8 to 4 period. And I do work Saturday mornings as well, because I think that's an absolutely amazing time, as I talk about in the Perfect Week formula. No one's bothering you. No one's going to bother you. So if you spend 90 minutes working on a Saturday morning, you squeeze in an extra day of work. And so I do that. And I think that I have most of the boundaries in place that will serve me for the next couple of years, because then we'll eventually homeschool the girls. And it's not super serious schooling at age 4, so it would be totally fine to keep that schedule for a long time, I think.
And when it comes to your overall vision for 10 years from now, what does Early to Rise, the company, to you? Like what is it that you envision when you think about that long-term vision?
Right. So I like what we're doing right now. We have an email list that we provide content to daily, and we offer products and services through that. I want to grow that email list, and growing the email list through selling additional courses, through advertising to grow that email list. And also, you do a lot of work on the website to get a lot of people to the website, and they opt into our newsletter after they consume some of our great content. We want to continue to grow the YouTube channel. We want to grow the Instagram, all that sort of stuff. So we want to grow our audience, and then we want to expand our coaching program. So right now we do heavily one-on-one coaching, and we have a mastermind program. So It is a very intensive and it's a very intimate coaching experience. We don't want to water it down for people. We want to work with high achievers, high performers, people that want to grow their businesses, people that want to work less, people that want to kind of follow in my footsteps and really live the life that they want to design. And I don't really want to move towards the, entry-level type stuff. We don't want to work with them. I don't want to work with beginners. We may put together some stuff like that in the future, but we want to work with business owners that are doing, $500,000 a year or more, that have teams of 3, 5, 10, 15, 20 people that just need to really build the systems in place. And then expanding that out into probably a program where people come in and get their business organized in 8 weeks, and then they expand on and to get the benefits of the one-on-one coaching, which is where we can really do a leverage point. For example, on the ride over here, Galel was talking about one of our clients that Galel helped put together a brand new offer for, raise the price on after the individual said, hey, how's about offering at this price? And Galel helped them raise it to a higher price that's more valuable to them. And that leverage point is like a 5-minute conversation and led to like at least $50,000 in revenue to that client. And we want to, after people organize their businesses, be able to serve them on that level. And then we have our tribe, which is our mastermind, which so many entrepreneurs need because they're stuck on lonely entrepreneur island. And we want to offer a space like that where they can come and get energized, be around other like-minded people, and have those events multiple times per year. And that's something that I've been involved in Mastermind since 2007. It's probably been the most valuable thing that I've ever invested in myself, because you change yourself personally and professionally, and having that just grow and grow and grow with our team of coaches growing. We have you, we have Gavin, we have Coach Daniel, we have an amazing team of operations specialists that help our clients as well. And I just want to continue expanding. So it's not necessarily looking different, it's just looking bigger and serving more people.
Do you see yourself, so 10 years from now, how old's Isabella going to be? Gosh,
she'll be 11 or 12.
She'll be 11, so she'll be Olivia's age, my daughter, currently right now. And so do you see yourself when she's 11, do you see yourself coaching as much as you're doing now, or do you see yourself maybe coaching a little bit less in the future?
I don't coach that much right now. I think that, I could be coaching nothing. I could be coaching even a little bit more. I doubt it. But what I do is more consulting at a real high level with businesses. So our highest level clients who just need a short conversation, make a very important decision, or need introductions. That's the type of stuff that I really do. And it doesn't take a lot of time for me. Yeah. It's really managing my network. And I think the only thing that I won't go back to that I used to do is traveling to a lot of events. It'll be very picky, choosy, and just really hosting the events and making people come to me so it doesn't interrupt my day. But providing that leverage point that most entrepreneurs don't even realize is there, that opportunity to get together with other entrepreneurs is where a lot of the magic happens, because that way you expand your network, you see what other people are able to do, you are able to be introduced to the people that you need to know. Those are the things that need to happen, and I'll probably be doing that for as long as I can imagine.
Shifting gears a tiny bit, one of the things that you had shared with our team a few weeks back was that, if you could sit in a room with a laptop and just answer people's questions and help them solve problems, that you would do that all day long.
Yeah,
right?
I like that.
And one of the ways that you've been able to make a huge impact on the world, and that is a fact, right? You've been able to make a huge impact on the world is with your books. Perfect Day Formula, Perfect Week Formula, and Unstoppable, right? And I'm curious, do you have any other books on the horizon?
I certainly know that I have topics in my mind, and that was one of the things. Actually, I want to have a few conversations on this trip with a few people and just say, me, like the people that are intimate with my expertise, what is the next book that needs to be written by Craig? So I think that there's going to be multiple more books. Some of them will be maybe a little bit niched down, so it's not necessarily something that will be for a lot of people, but there are some that can be a much broader topic. So I really want to do another one. I just haven't figured out exactly what the next one will be.
Okay. So do you have a few things that you're kind of like, you have inspiration that's leaning you towards a certain few places?
It's really just pulling the trigger on which one that'll be.
Yeah. Yeah, great. I mean, hey, parenting, that's a whole...
That will not be my book.
That will not be your book?
No, I'm on chapter 1 of parenting, so I'm a long, long way away from writing a parenting book if I ever choose to do something like that.
Yeah, but I'm sure the lessons though that you've learned so far, probably, right? Being an entrepreneur and the stuff that you've learned and incorporating that with parenting, and now this whole other world has probably been
listen, part of parenting is making sure that you have enough time to parent, and the perfect week formula accomplishes a lot of that. And so there's, it's a bit of a parenting book, I guess you could say, for entrepreneurs.
Yeah,
but it's not. Parenting is a whole wild world of its own, and I certainly do not profess to be an expert in that.
You and me both, my friend. So looking back, we were talking about the future. Now I want to look back a little bit. Over your career, gosh, you've been coaching and consulting for how many years now? Would you say 20 plus years?
I would say since 2007, I have had official business clients. So that is 15 plus years.
Okay.
And then running my own business for another 10 years before that.
Sure.
But I had my first event in 2007, and so plus or minus a couple years, plus a couple years from that, maybe informally.
So looking back at those years, and I know you and I were talking about people in the car ride over here, talking about certain clients that are just outperforming, right? Over those last 15 plus years you've been working with these clients, like what makes the superstars the superstar clients?
Well, there's going to be a skill set side of that, and there's going to be an attitude side of things. And so the attitude side is, I'm going to do this come hell or high water. And you just see that in, I saw that one of the first times I saw that in a client named Isabel Price, who, she started with no money to her name. She had to get her fiance to invest in the coaching that we had back then. But you just knew from the first phone call that I had with her before she even invested that there's nothing going to stop this woman. There's a guy named Sal De Paola who's still is a firefighter for the New York Fire Department. He's like within 1 year of retirement, and this guy gets knocked down all the time, but he's making more money than ever because we keep on finding new opportunities for him, and nothing's going to stop him. Nothing would ever derail him totally. The people that don't, it's almost easier to choose the people that don't make it or aren't going to make it. And it's definitely, they're distracted by opportunities. They chase a whole bunch of different things, and they have really no emotional regulation. Because being an entrepreneur is already difficult enough. You're going to go through highs, there's going to be external highs and lows placed upon you. But the people that really bail on entrepreneurship too early run themselves through the ringer, and they make every problem 10 times worse than it is in their head. Or there is no problem and they make something into a problem. And those people just are not going to make it because they can't regulate their emotions. And then if something good does go right, then they're just way too excited about something, and they need to be much steadier. And so that is the thing that definitely determines the longevity of somebody, is whether or not they have the emotional regulation to just keep things steady and calm, and be calm under pressure. So I see those things as being the killers. And then that perseverance attitude combined with the fact that the skill set is you have to learn how to sell, and you have to go and actually ask for the sale. And there's a million ways to ask for a sale, from writing a sales letter to doing cold calling and everything in between. But you have to actually do the selling part, because a lot of people can organize their business and they can have a positive attitude and they can show up and take action on everything else but selling. But your business is not going to exist if you never get around to actually selling something. So
you mentioned Isabel and you mentioned Sal, and the two traits that you mentioned is that stick-to-itiveness, that grit that they just will persist regardless of circumstances.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, your background, we know you were a farm boy, raised up in Canada, and so you saw the example that your dad had of having to wake up early and take care of the most important thing, feeding the cows, taking care of the animals first thing in the morning, right? And you made very little money, if anything, I think, helping out on the family farm, right? And there's a lot of those lessons that are learned in that. Like to be a farmer requires hard work and patience, right? Because you're planting crops and you're waiting for stuff to grow, right? But not everybody grows up in that type of environment. And so for the person that's watching or listening to this saying, listen, man, I grew up in a middle-class household. I don't know what it's like to live on a farm, and I've just never learned stick-to-itiveness, that grit. How does somebody develop that skill?
Well, I would be surprised that if someone has gone through life and has not stuck to something, right? And, maybe they stuck to a video game that they just played until they won it, or maybe they stuck to, a musical instrument, or maybe they've stuck to their relationship, through thick and thin, and it's a great relationship today. Everybody's been able to stick to something. Some people can stick to fitness and some people can't, but some people can. And so everybody's been successful in one area of their life, and they just need to go and look at what made me successful here and then transfer that over to another area of life for whatever it is that you want. Now, it's easier when you choose something that you're excited about and you're excited to come back to and push through. But even in those things that you love, whether it's a game of golf or whether it's playing a musical instrument or whatever, in most cases, there's going to be those challenges, and you have to be able to stick through it and come back and persist through that. So understand that you have already within you all the mental side that is required to be an entrepreneur. And everything is a learnable skill, so you're able to then persist and learn those skills. So anybody can do this. And if they were forced to do it, they'd prove to themselves that they could do it. Just like if you were forced to lose weight, everybody could lose weight. It's just a matter of whether or not you are willing to stick to it. So it's finding that transfer of mindset from where have I been successful to where do I want to be successful, that may just be the final missing link in you having a big breakthrough.
Do you think in some ways life's become too easy for us in modern society?
Yeah, definitely in certain ways. There's a lot of ways in which life is way too easy. You don't have to work very hard to get food, clothing, entertainment. It's all readily available at very low cost. So yeah, I mean, life has never been easier. What does that mean for us as entrepreneurs or as high performers? Well, we probably do have to push ourselves a little bit harder to avoid complacency. A lot of people, especially those that come from unsuccessful backgrounds where the family didn't have a lot of money, when you make a certain income level, you're making more than you ever thought was your wildest dreams. The good thing about the way the world is today is that certain circumstances are making things harder than ever, or at least harder than they used to be. So, the money that you were making 2 years ago doesn't go as far as it does today. So you shouldn't need that type of incentive, though, to show up. You need only the incentive that you drive yourself forward with. You need that internal motivation. And then it's just looking outside of yourself. It's like, if all of this stuff is easy to get, which it generally is, I need to find something that fulfills me much more than the easy to get stuff. And that's what it really drive you through to go to the next level.
So that I think that's a great point that you make, and avoiding complacency. And I know, talking about my own life, that's something that's a daily challenge, is to make sure I avoid complacency, don't get comfortable, and keep trying to grow. People call you the world's most disciplined man. Some people might look at you and hear your schedule and your regimen and think, this guy, Craig Ballantyne, is he actually a human being? Is he a robot? And I've seen you and spent enough time with you to know you're very much a human being.
Sure.
Right? What do you do to make sure that you don't fall into complacency?
The most important thing that I do is I spend time with and grow relationships with people that are further ahead, that are doing more, that may not be further ahead, but are, working themselves out of difficult circumstances. You need to be constantly inspired by a tribe of people who are like-minded and positive. And you need to then transmute that positivity and good role modeling from other people into a combination of that plus your big ideas and your big vision and your belief in yourself that you're capable of achieving great things. And when you have those two things, it is very difficult not to show up and follow through. And that's what you need. And then you need to also have people that you make promises to. You can't promise everything to everybody, but you need to make serious, significant promises to people and then not want to let them down. And that's another way that will keep you coming back and taking action. And it is very important for you to know exactly what you want to achieve and to choose the right person to tell that to. But when you do that, they will remind you constantly, and they will be the ones who hold you accountable to get to the next level, which is what you do in your coaching so well with clients, that you develop an amazing relationship with people very quickly. And when you have that relationship with somebody and you share a goal with them and they're the positive, like-minded person, they will hold your feet to the fire so that you do the thing. And that's what's missing from so many people, I think, right now, is that whether it's through their own choice of isolation or through the isolation of the last couple of years that has been kind of thrust upon us, is that we don't spend enough time with other people. And it may simply be we don't know how to get in touch with people who are a little bit further ahead. If you're from a small town or if you just have some habitual ways of socializing that you're always busy with other people who are not striving, then it is a little bit difficult to have that, but it's not difficult to find it if you know where to look. And that's through getting involved, going to seminars, going to events, getting involved in mastermind groups and coaching programs and stuff like that. And soon you'll find, wow, I am not the most successful person in the room. These people are pushing and doing great things, and they're cheering me on to do it. And that's really, really essential.
So you've shared in the past in multiple episodes and interviews that, when you got started, you would get a room on the first floor.
Sure.
So you could duck out of the seminar, go right to your room and go and be by yourself. Yeah. So obviously you had a transformation, you broke through that, you got uncomfortable, and you went and you started showing up in the room. What do you recommend for people? Okay, they go to a seminar, they sign up to go to an event, they come to one of our mastermind events. What are a few tips that you would give people that attend events on how to intentionally build those relationships to be able to grow themselves as humans and grow with other people?
One of the first things that you need to do, if possible, is like kind of seed everything in advance. So one thing that we do with our events is we have a WhatsApp group. So introduce yourself in the WhatsApp group. Then build a little bit of status for yourself around, hey, this is my specialty. I help people with this. So if anybody wants to talk about this, seek me out. Because as a person who has introverted tendencies is breaking that ice with somebody. So if you go to an event and there's been no pre-framing or introductions or anything, and you just walk into a room of 500 people or 15 people, doesn't matter which, it's very difficult for the introverted type of person to get things started. And so you do as much as you can to get things started by introductions at the start, but also by giving yourself a little bit of a status so that people will seek you out. So it's now you don't have to go and start the conversation, but people are seeking you out, and away you go. And another thing that I have just learned over the years is I'll just ask a simple question like, what are you really excited about to learn at this event? Or what are you really excited about in your business? Because most people can talk for a long, long time when you ask them that type of question. And it's open-ended enough that anybody can come up with an answer, and it's not something that's based around a type of expertise, and they can go anywhere they want with it, and it'll open up the conversation to like, oh, well, tell me more about that, or what do you mean by that, or oh, I can probably help you with that, or it then allows you to make, to go off and choose your own adventure from that. But just simply having a few tool sets like that, for people that are shy or introverted or however you want to describe yourself, it just makes life a whole lot easier. And then this person says, wow, you got to go and talk to this person. They introduce you to somebody, and away you go. And the next thing you know, you have a pretty good circle of acquaintances really, really fast.
That's one of the things, Craig, that I think has been like a superpower of yours. For somebody who's self-proclaimed like introverted tendencies, that you have been able to build your, I guess, goodwill bank account so large that if a client of ours has a struggle, we tell our clients, you get access to Craig's network when you become a coaching client of ours. And I was wondering if you could kind of dive into that a little bit. How did you go about building that goodwill bank account so that where you did things for other people, what were those things that you did with other people to build that goodwill bank account so that now people are tripping over themselves to do favors for you? How does that work, and how did that start?
So this starts like 25 years ago when I had just an email list in the fitness industry. And so what I would do, I had an email list. I would go and I would say to somebody who is higher up than me, I'd say, hey, can I interview you for my email list? So can I spread the word about your stuff to my email list? Great. Okay, so now you do that for a few people. They're introducing you to other people. The one thing that I did have going for me was that I was writing for Men's Health magazine at the time because I simply asked. So I asked for an opportunity and I was granted it. And then that gave me what I call critical credibility. So that made it easier. But that said, in this day and age, anybody can start a podcast or YouTube channel, and you can go and you can contact 1,000 experts on Instagram very quickly, and you'd be shocked at how many people answer their own messages. All you need to do is get out of those 1,000 contacts, get 3 or 5 people who have, a few thousand or 100,000 followers. You'd be shocked at how many people will say yes, because when you ask somebody, it's very difficult for a lot of people to say no, even though they should say no to your request. They should, for their own time management. They should say no. They won't say no. And so now you can say, and I've gotten this message a lot, and it's tricked me into being on some podcasts I shouldn't have said yes to, because people will say, I've had this other person on my show. I've had guests like this. And you think, well, if that person has done the show, then I would be a bad person for not saying yes to the show. And that's all you really need to do. And the next thing, so now you have all these people that you're connected with because you've had them on the podcast. And it may be a surface level connection, but if you're wise, you then leverage it to make connections to other people. And it's not going to take long at all if you just systematically do that. And that's one route with podcasting. Again, I started with an email newsletter. Eventually I moved to podcasting and stuff like that. But through the connections, that got me speaking on stages. When you speak on a stage, so this is a great thing for an introvert. If you're an introvert and you're going to an event, the best thing you can do is go to an event where you're speaking, because again, now people seek you out and you don't have to go and seek them out. But it also elevates your status. And you put content out on the internet. You can be the most introverted person in the world. Film a video by yourself. And now it's on the internet and you look like a bit of an expert. And you can choose all these social medias that are out there. Just probably focus on one of them, the one that you're going to put the most time into, the one you're going to have most passionate about, the one you're going to show up every day on, even if you're not getting results at first. That's what you need to do. And then you'll be able to grow an audience. And anybody can do this of any social level from anywhere in the world. And it's just, how can you then, whatever results you get, you have to then leverage to get to the next level. And then you have to leverage that. It's like years and years ago, there was a guy who turned a paperclip into a house. And what I mean by that is there was a website where he would go and trade the paperclip, and he'd trade the paperclip for like a stapler. And then he traded the stapler for like a blender, and then a blender for something else. And he just like, I don't know if this was on eBay, maybe he was selling stuff, but eventually he kept on selling the low price thing for something a little bit more expensive. Mm-hmm. And eventually he got to the point where he's able to buy a house, or like he traded the thing for a house, and all from a paperclip. And that's such a great analogy that when you're starting out with nothing, you actually have more than you think. And, you know, if you have any area of expertise, this is a great example from the fitness industry. Like a broke personal trainer can be of value to a billionaire who's unhealthy. And most people underestimate how helpful they can be to somebody. But if you do have an expertise, whether you're an expert in relationships, or whether you're an expert in health and fitness, or whether you're an expert in, you know, computer coding or video editing, there's a lot of people who are very successful and who have monetary resources who don't know anything about that. And you can be of value to them. But you won't know until you go and you seek those things out. So that's what you have to do, is you have to go and turn your red paper clip of expertise into something more, and just repeat that over and over again. But it won't take that long. In this day and age of connectivity, you know, I was just reading about some guy who in 2020 got fired from his job, and today he makes $4 million a month on TikTok. Just a young kid. He's not a young kid. He's a young man. Like, he's probably 30-ish, and I forget what industry he's in. But I mean, there's never been a time in history where you can go from, you know, broke joke to multi-millionaire as fast as you can today.
Yeah. And you have mentioned many times how these little connections, these relationships that you've had with people led you down the path to, heck, even now your wife.
Yeah, absolutely. The more people you know, the easier everything in life will be. Because, like, let's say, for example, you have a dog and you don't know the best, you have to go away for a week and you don't know what to do with your dog. If you don't know anybody, you can go to the internet, sure. But if you know 100 people and you have like a WhatsApp group of 100 people, you can go to that group and say, hey, I'm going away for a week. What's the best thing to do with my dog? And you'll get people volunteering. You'll get people pointing you to the right direction. But if you don't know anybody, how much harder is it going to be for you to find the solution for that? How much harder is it going to be for you to find the real solution to losing weight? Well, how much harder is it going to be to find the connection that you need in life? It's going to be real hard, because you're not going to have anybody to refer you to somebody. So knowing more people, man, it's like the easiest way to get ahead in life. I mean, is it that hard to know more people? No. You don't even need to leave your house to grow a network in this day and age. It's amazing.
Yeah, one of the things I know that I learned from you was like leading with a giving hand.
Sure.
Don't come to Craig saying, hey, Craig, what can you do this for me? Can you help me with this? But instead, hey, Craig, here's the value that I have for you. Have you seen what happens when you do that? Like, what's the magic that happens when you lead with a giving hand to somebody?
Well, the funny thing is that you don't even have to like do something for somebody else. You can compliment somebody. Like if somebody says, "Hey, I read your book. It really helped me." I'll pay way more attention to you. You could then say, "Will you take a look at my video?" If somebody did that versus showing up and just said, "Hey, will you take a look at my video?" You're going to get a way more response by saying, "Hey, I read your book and it really helped." Like that doesn't actually do anything for me, but it's a compliment. It makes me feel good. I feel like, there's some reciprocity. Yeah, sure, I'll look at your video. But if somebody just cold emails you and says, "Hey, will you take a look at my video?" Well, no, there's been no establishment of relationship or reciprocity or value or anything. So it's not like you have to go and buy somebody something. But leaving an Amazon review goes a long way with a book author. Leaving comments, sharing stuff. There was a guy named Richard Yu who's now doing. He's a successful young man. He's like under 25, and he sent Joel Marion 50 messages before Joel responded. 50, just Instagram direct messages. He was making videos of like he would do stories about Joel's podcast, and he would say, "Hey, Joel's got this great book," and he would do all of these, and he'd send messages to Joel, and eventually he got through to Joel. Joel finally answered him, and Richard said, "Hey, I want to come and work for you." And Joel's like, "I don't have any jobs for you, but I have a friend who you could go and work for, and you can come to my mastermind," which I paid $100,000 to be in, and he let Richard come in and take notes for everybody for free. So Richard got to attend the entire event for free. All he had to do was take notes and then send the notes out to everybody. And he got $100,000 worth of coaching and networking. But then he also, so Joel introduced him to this guy, Vince. So Vince gave him a job, and then he learned a bunch of skills and he decided he's going to go and start his own business. And that was all within under 12-month span. Under 12-month span. Eventually he had a 6-figure business from just adding value through reposting things. And he was persistent. A guy like that, you go back to Isabel and Sal, like, okay, Richard sent 50 messages. Most people are not going to send 50 messages to one person, let alone one message to 50 people. So that young man is going to be successful no matter what, because even if he gets wiped out, he'll just start again. And so you will be amazed at how many people you can connect with on Instagram. And I don't know the full story of this, but the guy from Maroon 5,
yeah, Adam Levine.
Yeah. Like he got in trouble, I think.
Yes, he did.
But wasn't he like sending the message on Instagram?
Instagram.
Right. So
it was a fan. I think it was a fan who started DMing him.
Right. So this is like one of the most famous singers in the world, who, for people don't know this, ended up like. I think what people really laughed about this was how cheesy his lines were.
Cheesy.
But it was, and even if it wasn't a fan, even if it was like a model, like this is a very, 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 very famous man using Instagram himself to send direct messages.
Yes.
So you would be shocked by the people that actually read their own direct messages in the personal development world. You're probably looking at about 95% of people.
Yeah.
I mean, Alex Hormozi, who has millions of followers, definitely reads his own Instagram messages. And some of them, maybe not all of them, but some of them. So if you never send the direct message, you'll never get a response. If you do send the direct message, you might not get a response, but you have a chance of getting a response. And so there's never been a time in history when it's been this easy to get a hold of anyone, because people are addicted to Instagram.
You know what's going to happen now is you're going to get a boatload of DMs now to your
From
Instagram.
Adam Levine? I hope not. Hope he doesn't compliment me in any way.
Man, he was sending voice messages too, which is so funny. That's how they nailed him. Oh man, this is super powerful, Craig, because you're giving people these tangible steps as to how to use this device that they carry around with them everywhere. And can literally turn into relationships that generate 6 and 7 figures.
Sure, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's wild. It's wild what you can do through networking and relationships. Absolutely.
It's a question I get often, when I go to events and I introduce myself and I say that I'm a coach for Craig Ballantyne. And they go, how did that happen? And it all started with, I bought his book, guys and gals. I bought his book.
Well, no, it started before that because it started in 2011 when you went to an event.
Correct. Yes, you're right. So I paid for an event, and then I bought his books. And then I interacted with Craig. And then I bought a program. And then I was a student in the program, the Effortless Discipline, right? And then I was at the point where coaching didn't make sense at the time for me. Then there was another webinar, I think it was, that was done for yearly planning. And so I joined that one. And I interacted with Craig, and Craig's like, "Oh, Galel, like, good to see you again," right? And again, I'd made a purchase and was in your world. And then from there became a coaching client. And then my coach shared my results with you and said, "Hey, he's doing things."
Well,
right?
he shared more. I think the first thing he shared before your results was, this guy would be a great coach for you. Yeah, he was just complimenting, like, man, this guy's awesome in many, many ways. I don't think it was even the results of your, I don't even think I knew what you did for a long time. But if we're looking for a coach, next coach, this guy would be great. That's what got us to where we are now.
And that's why, the reason I bring that up is because what you're bringing up as far as gaining access to people. You're going to gain access to people by getting yourself out and getting to events, buying the books, interacting, leaving the review, buying the product, learning more. And I think your career has been a testament to that of like, hey, like, I'm going to go and I'm going to learn from them.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I will, I'll say though that I've developed really strong friendships with people I've never met in my life, simply through messaging back and forth. Now, they're usually people that have books that I've read. They've read my books. There's shared common interests. There's shared common friends and stuff like that. And it's like, hey, can't wait to finally meet you. So it's not like everybody's, every one of my good connections came that way. Most of them come from breaking bread with people in person and going to the gym with a lot of them and that sort of stuff. But it's remarkable how strongly you can connect with somebody. And then usually it involves me going on their podcast or them coming on mine. So, but again, that's not in person. Oftentimes it's just through Zoom or something like that. So you would be absolutely shocked at how well connected you can get from your basement. You really can.
Yeah. So I think a real key action step here, Craig, as we wrap this up, because I mean, I could sit here with you for the next 8 hours, just talking life. So this is genuinely fun for me. Like, I love this stuff.
Good, man.
I think a real tangible action step for the people watching and listening to this is, where do you want to go, and who can you connect with to build that network that you need that's going to help encourage you, help you keep from getting complacent, and who's going to run alongside you in that journey.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to get stronger, you need to be the weakest person in the gym. So you go to the gym where there's really strong people, and you're going to learn from them, and you're going to elevate quicker than if you kept going to the same YMCA where you're the strongest person in that YMCA. You're not getting any stronger staying there. You got to get outside of that. You got to push yourself. And just like, if you're a 6-figure business owner, you need to be in the room with 7-figure business owners. When that 100 million mastermind group that I was in, there was people making literally $100 million a year. I had to be in that group in order to elevate and escalate. If I just went to, a group of entrepreneurs where everybody's doing 50 grand a year, you're probably not getting a lot out of that if you're already doing 7 figures. So you have to put yourself in uncomfortable places where you're the minnow, and you will benefit and grow from being in that space.
One tangible thing that I'm going to throw out, because I've gotten to go to an event of this, and I'm going to one next week. Go to an Unstoppable Mastermind. Get to an Unstoppable Mastermind. Can you give us a quick, I know I was trying to wrap this up, but we bring this up, we got to talk about it. Tell me about the mastermind event.
Yeah, they used to just be 2 days, and it was really like a Thursday, Friday with a group dinner, and everyone get out of there kind of in the afternoon. So that, because that when it was just me, I was all about the business part of it. But now it's expanded to like 3 days, a couple group dinners, and people hanging out after. And because coaches, you're coaching it, Gavin is coaching it, Daniel's coaching it, and we've had people being in the program for years and years and years. And it really has become a group of friends that meet, that all have businesses, and lift one another up.
Yes.
Support one another, that we have fun with each other. And we are that oasis in the desert where, because most people, when they leave, they go back home and, they may live in, LA, California, but the people that they spend their time with are, have corporate jobs, or their family are not entrepreneurs. They don't understand them. So they may be surrounded by people, but they're in a desert of like-minded people. And the mastermind group is this place where everybody is, wants to improve themselves personally, wants to improve themselves professionally, wants to work less, grow their income, all has the same goals, and then brings their own value and experiences that they can share with one another and support one another. And we've all gone through the same problems. If you're hanging around your brother-in-law who, has a corporate job, he's got problems, but they're not going to be the same problems as you, and not going to understand. He's not going to care. You can't go to your team members and complain to them about the problem being the entrepreneur who owns the business, because they like you, but they're not going to care, and they don't have the same problems.
Right.
So you have to be in a group of people who have the same problems, so that you can then find the same solutions, and then everybody comes back next time with the next level. Everybody's more successful, but we still got some new problems and new solutions. So that's why it's so important to be in that right tribe of right people.
Yep. So if this sounds like something that you want, and if you're an entrepreneur, I think you just have to get yourself in the room.
Yeah.
You've got to get in the room. Get on Craig's email list. Go to earlytorise.com. Get on the email list, so that way you can see when the next events are coming up.
Or hit me up on Instagram at Real Craig Ballantyne. Unless you're Adam Levine, then do not hit me up on Instagram ever for anything.
That's right, Real Craig Ballantyne.
I don't even like that guy's voice. So getting a voice message from him would be a doubly horrible experience.
Oh, somebody out there, please send Craig a voice message on IG. Craig, thanks so much for your time, man. Really appreciate you being here, and excited to see you speak over at BK Live.
Yeah, it's going to
be
good.
Hang out with you here.
Awesome, man. So, hey, everybody, this is Craig Ballantyne from Early to Rise. Awesome to have the tables turned on me. In the next episode, we're going to jump over and we're going to interview Galel about his amazing journey from entrepreneur and struggling in the mortgage crisis of 2009 to being a coach at the best business coaching program in the world. We'll talk to you soon.